Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Ann Reardon and today I'm attempting to recreate the Rubik's Cube dessert by Cedric grolet. I saw this dessert when we were in Paris a few months ago. It has 24 little cubes of dessert and comes in all different colours and flavours. We didn't buy this one because you have to order them ahead and they cost 170 euros or about 270 Australian dollars. So let's just make one instead. For the cake layers, I'm going to use my own cake recipe, and for that you need almond meal, flour, baking powder, icing sugar, eggs, margarine or butter, and I'm actually a little short of butter, so I've added a little bit of oil to make it up to the right weight. You can do that in cakes, but you can't do it in everything, so don't try and do that in buttercream or something like that. And then what you want to do is simply add in the eggs and the almond meal and the icing sugar. And you want to mix that all around until it's nice and smooth and fluffy. It's all mixed in and it's even. Then you can turn the mixer down on low and add in the flour. If you're new around here, all these recipe quantities are on my howtocookthat.net website, and make sure you subscribe to How to Cook That and turn on the notification bell so you know when there's new videos. Once you've added the flour and the baking powder, you want to mix it until it's just combined. Don't over mix it or it will be tough. Tip the mixture into 2 trays and spread it out, especially into the corners. You want this to be even and level on top. If you're a regular and you're here every week or every second week now, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. That makes all the difference as to whether this channel continues into the future or whether it doesn't. Thank you for all of those of you who have already done that and are already supporting. I really appreciate it, and it is super encouraging to see your level of support that you'd like the channel to continue. And then you can bake those in the oven for about 15 minutes. Now I want to make 8 different flavours of cake, so we need something in each bowl to add flavour to the cream. For the citrus flavours, we can just grate the rind. I'm going to do that with orange, lime and lemon. So that's 3 of our flavours. Next, I think a pistachio cube would be nice. So I'm just going to chop up some pistachios. You can make this Rubik's Cube dessert all one flavour if you prefer, or just have 2 or 3 flavours. You don't have to have 8 different ones, but I thought if I showed you how to make 8 different ones, you could pick and choose the ones that you like and leave out the ones you don't. So we've got pistachio, lemon, lime, orange, and for this one we'll add in coconut. That's an easy one. And for the next one, let's finely chop some strawberries and put them in a bowl. And then in the next bowl, I want to add a teaspoon of ground coffee and a tablespoon of hot water to dissolve that. Now for the last bowl, I'm going to leave that plain for now, and we'll make it chocolate flavour later. To each of these, we want to add 1/4 cup of hot cream and then leave them for at least 30 minutes so the flavours can infuse into the cream. While we're waiting, let's make the flavoured syrups to go onto the cake. For the citrus ones, juice the fruit, and we basically just need equal parts of sugar to liquid. So if you've got 1/2 cup of juice, you want to add 1/2 cup of sugar. And then you want to stir that together well and heat it in the microwave until the sugar is all dissolved and you have a syrup. For the chocolate one, I'm making a milk chocolate ganache, and for the coffee one, I'm making a dark chocolate ganache. For the strawberry one, I'm using 1/2 cup of strawberry jam mixed with 1/2 cup of water. And again, just heat that up and stir it to use it for the strawberry simple syrup. And for all the others, I'm going to use a vanilla simple syrup, which is just equal parts of sugar and water and a little bit of vanilla. So you just heat those up and then set them aside until we need them. Next, we're going to need some sort of container to make these desserts in. I'm using these plastic containers and lining each one with baking paper. If we had trays that were the perfect size and perfect height for all our cubes, that would make life a lot easier, but I'm trying to use things that you can get hold of at home. Cut each of your tray cakes into 2 thin layers and then use a ruler to cut pieces the same size as your containers. Once you get to the edges of the tray, you might need to cut out 2 pieces and do like a jigsaw puzzle to fill each one with cake. Add a little vanilla simple syrup to the chocolate, pistachio, coconut and coffee ones. And then for the lemon one, you want to add lemon simple syrup, of course. And I suggest you label all your containers at this stage so you can remember which one is which, because they all look very similar, but they're going to taste quite different. Do the same with the rest of your flavors, adding syrup to each one. With the coffee and the chocolate, I'm of course adding the ganache in there on top of the cake as well, just to give that extra richness of flavor. Now back to our cream. Push each one into a sieve so that you're leaving behind the solid chunks, like in this case the coconut, but on other ones you've got that rind and stuff. You don't want that in your dessert, but you do want to push out the maximum amount of flavour in that cream out into the bowl on the bottom. Then you'll need to measure this out, and if you've got slightly less than 1/4 cup, just top it up with some more cream. Now to make our creams actually set into a dessert, because we don't just want liquid, I've got 8 bowls with 40 grams of chocolate in each. These are all white chocolate obviously, and then I've got a dark one and a milk one. I've also got egg yolks, milk, sugar, more cream and gelatin. Add the cream to the gelatin and mix it around really well, and then leave that to thicken. Add the sugar in with the egg yolks and whisk those together. Then heat up your milk in the microwave, and once it's hot, pour the milk onto the egg yolks while you're whisking the whole time. Once that's all poured in, add in your gelatin mixture and stir that some more until that is all melted in. And then you want to take that whole bowl and microwave it until it's hot so the egg yolks are cooked. Split this mixture between all the bowls of chocolate and wait for a couple of minutes for that chocolate to melt, and then stir each of those well until it's smooth. Now it is really hot today, it's 42 degrees, so my chocolate was quite soft to start with. If it's cold where you are, you might need to give each bowl just a tiny 10-second in the microwave just to help that chocolate to melt. Now to the milk chocolate one, add in the bowl of plain cream and stir that together and pour that onto the chocolate container, and then add another piece of cake carefully on top, and you want to push that down to make sure it's level and flat over the whole thing. Stir the coffee flavoured cream into the dark chocolate one and add that into the coffee container. And of course you then want to add another piece of cake on top of that and flatten it out. To each of the white chocolate mixtures, add one of the other flavours. So this is the pistachio cream that I'm adding here and mixing in. And then you want to pour that into the container, sprinkle it with some chopped pistachios, and then add another piece of cake on top. With the strawberry one, I also sprinkled some fresh strawberries chopped up into that one. You don't have to add that in, but you can if you like. Once they're frozen, check the height of each one. We need them all to be exactly the same so that the cubes are all the same size. So mark the height of the tallest one on each of the other containers, and then we just want to top each one up to the same height. I'm just going to use a thin layer of white chocolate ganache on top. Pop those into the freezer, and now we'll make our glaze. For that you'll need sugar, sweetened condensed milk, white chocolate, gelatin and some water. Add some of the water to the gelatin and stir that around, and put the rest of the water in with the sugar and then pour on the sweetened condensed milk. Stir that together, and then you want to microwave this until it's hot enough for all that sugar to dissolve. It needs to be totally smooth, so make sure it's not gritty at all. If it is, just heat it a little bit longer because you need all those sugar crystals to be completely dissolved. Add in the gelatin and stir that through until it's melted, and then add in your white chocolate and leave it for a couple of minutes. When you come back, you can just stir well to combine that melted chocolate in with the liquid. Pour some of this glaze into each bowl and then colour each one according to the flavour that the cube is going to be. And you can use chocolate to colour it brown rather than using brown food colouring. Take your frozen dessert and tip it out of the container. You might need to bang it a few times to get it loose, I know I did. And then use a ruler to measure and cut your dessert. If you're not sure how big it should be, measure the height of the dessert, and that's how wide each square should be so that you end up with cubes. Individually glaze each cube, making sure that you get the glaze on all sides and especially on those corners, they're the hardest bit to get. Then gently put it onto a lined tray and back into the freezer. Repeat that with all of your colours, and then once they're frozen you can trim across the base to get rid of any excess. Now you could have put these on a cooling rack to drain, but they're so small that I found that putting them back in the freezer like this and cutting off the edge of the glaze gave a really nice neat edge. Now for the stand part, temper some dark chocolate and pour it onto some foil and just use a spatula to spread it out evenly. Roll some acetate into a tube and tape it into place. Stand that upright and fill it with the rest of the tempered chocolate. Once your chocolate is starting to set, you need to cut the lines along to make 3 squares. If you were doing this all the time, you could make a mold or buy a mold that would be the perfect shape for it so that your chocolate is just perfect, but we're only doing it once off, so we'll do it this way. Unwrap the chocolate cylinder and cut it into 2 equal portions, just a little bit taller than your cubes. Place down your bottom square of chocolate and add the cubes of dessert around the edge and a cylinder of chocolate in the center. Place the next layer on top. I decided it would be easier to put the dessert blocks on around the edge before balancing this on, and then add another chocolate cylinder in the middle. Then add your top layer on top of that. And now you can turn the layers of the dessert like a Rubik's Cube. Now obviously you can't turn them up and down, you can only turn them sideways, but I still think that's a pretty impressive idea. I like it, I think it looks pretty cool. Thanks to all my Patreons, your support is invaluable. And a special shout out to Cryptozoologic for being a diamond level Patreon. That is super crazy, thank you. And if you would like to become a Patreon, check out all the rewards at patreon.com/h2ct and support the channel so it can continue. Subscribe to How to Cook That and click here for more of my videos. Make it a great week and I'll see you on Friday.